Like, we've got to stop looking externally for someone to tell us how to heal ourselves. We need to learn the skills and the tools ourselves. And the thing about singing is you can weave it with any modality. So just say someone's really taken responsibility and they're saying, right, I want to work with this particular person to heal this issue that I've got going on. That's awesome. They can also be adding singing to that. Singing can be added to anything. It's a form of breath work. It's somatic. There's so much that singing does. The thing is, you think of 100 years ago, what did we do? I mean, even when I was a little kid, at my grandma's place, they had a pianola. We'd sing around the piano. 100 years ago, that's what people did. They sang. I remember going through school and it not being cool to sing. And it's almost like the fear of judgment was a part of that. But let's bring singing back into everyday life.
Welcome back to the Badass Women in Business podcast. Today we have a 2-for-1, which I'm super excited about. I always get excited when Christy and I have parity on this show because it's usually us being 2-on-1, and now we're 2-for-2. Julia Williamson, Maddy Monacelli, welcome. Tell everybody your story.
Thank you so much for having us here, Aggie and Christy. Yes, I'm Julia, and Maddy is my daughter.
Hi.
And our story begins with me when I was little, born into a family of singers, but also born into a family of a lot of dysfunction. And so I knew that singing was really good for me because it made me feel good. It was like an escape from what I was living in. And as that young one, I took on lots of really limiting belief systems around not feeling good enough, believing I had to be perfect, not feeling worthy, was never allowed to ask for anything. So I didn't have a voice, essentially. And growing up, I could at least be in my room and sing to myself. And it was really a dream of mine to sing professionally. But I walked away from that at the age of 10, believe it or not, because I decided that there's no way I could do this because it's all too stressful and I'm not good enough. And then obviously years went by and I did go through addictive behaviours. There was a lot of drug use. There was eating disorders. I was extremely stressed, but also very driven because I was, I always had this thing like I was either chasing a feeling or running from a feeling. And my behaviour in my 20s was really affecting my health and my breathing. I had issues with my breathing, with my liver, with my kidneys. I had chronic fatigue. I was just a stressed out mess. And I knew I wanted to sing. My sister went into music and she was doing the whole music scene, and I went into corporate and basically lost myself in being really busy, making a lot of money, and just being a complete stressed out person. But I did end up starting to do a little bit of professional singing, and that I loved. It was nerve-wracking and I had all those limiting beliefs with me, but I knew I loved it. So it was one of those things that even though it was the hardest thing for me to do, to go and perform, I had to do it. It was an inner drive. And then I got made redundant in the year 2000 and I thought, that's it. I'm just going to do this with music. And Madeline was 3 or 4 at that stage. And by that stage, I had actually met a healer because Maddie's younger brother, Joel, was really quite sick. And, I could stand around and watch myself be sick, but I couldn't stand around and watch my son be sick. And so I met this woman who was a psychic empath, and she sort of put me really on path around we are a product of our beliefs, we create our reality, and that I began to see that I was, really my whole life was a product of how I thought, which was very dysfunctional. And so I started working on that, and I decided I wanted to do singing and do something with singing. And I found the healing work from this woman so profound because at that time I was professionally singing at this 5-star venue. And I used to have these anxiety attacks walking in. After one session with her, with Maggie Landman, I walked in this place and I'm like, oh, I'm not perspiring. I'm not nervous. I got a bit nervous stepping up to the microphone, but everything settled. And so I decided to learn that modality and my whole life began to change. And then I really didn't want to be doing gigs anymore because the kids were growing up and I wanted to be home more. So I started a business, a singing and healing school. And that just took off. I mean, who knew so many people wanted to sing? And the healing, because I came from a background of feeling like I needed to be perfect, this whole thing was you do not have to be perfect. You can just show up and sing. This is not about being perfect. And it just ended up becoming this whole process where I was attracting people that had similar issues to me that I had healed, and which is always the way, and helping people to free their voice and activate their voice. Because what came up for me during all of those years of healing was abuse from my own childhood, which I had fully suppressed. And the singing and the sound, I know better now because I understand the science behind it. But it actually helps to bring that up out of the body because the body stores trauma. So that's really why I'm so passionate about what I do, because I know what I was like as a child and growing up and as quite a toxic adult. And now seeing I have really reversed, my health is great. I've got loads of energy and I've got fantastic connection with my kids, which I never had. And I think that's the biggest thing for us as women also, not just women, but being able to truly express ourselves. Because what I discovered was, and I think the main message that I want to share today is when we're authentic, that's when everything changes. You're tapping into that deeper part of yourself. And the thing is, authenticity is measured higher on the frequency scale than love. And when I first learned that, I was like, oh, well, that makes total sense because it's the highest form of self-love. Because when we're not being authentic, we're contracting. Somewhere in us is like not owning something and not being truly who we are. And so that's my biggest message to everybody, that authenticity is the most important thing, expressing yourself. And that's our thing, what we do with Sing to Thrive, helping people to free their voice, clear those limiting beliefs, because singing naturally produces the brain chemicals that create the perfect chemistry to consolidate new neuronal growth. So when you're singing a life-affirming lyric or something with wisdom codes and word keys in it, you are creating new neural pathways, and you can remap your brain in as little as 21 days. Not your entire brain, but you can start putting in new patterns of thought forms that are consolidated and permanent. So it's brilliant for sort of anxiety, depression, addictive behaviors, where self-consciousness, where we're just, when we're not confident. So that's why I do what I do. And of course, my daughter was a big part of that whole journey, Maddy.
Cue in Maddy.
Yeah, cue in Maddy.
Okay. Well, it's interesting for me because I grew up in a household where there was always a lot of music. And so singing has always been quite natural for me and has felt so easy throughout my life. But even still, knowing that I could sing wasn't always enough. I still had these limiting beliefs as well. And also growing up in a household where this modality, this healing modality, it's called past age clearing and healing. And it was something I was introduced to at a very young age, and I feel very blessed about because I've actually watched myself over the years transform these belief systems to a place where I now can be up on stage performing in front of hundreds and hundreds of people and not be nervous at all and trust myself and trust my voice that I've got what it takes and that I can do it. And that is a very recent experience. So, yeah, for me, singing has definitely been such a driving force in my life. And even still, using it as a tool is so key for me, because even though I've always been able to sing and I've been freeing my singing voice over time, that has slowly been translating to my speaking voice and the way that I communicate in general within my life. And so it's interesting even now, if I find myself struggling to express myself in an authentic way, it gives me those cues and be like, okay, I've still got things to work on here. And you can use singing or vocal toning or any of our vocal activation tools as this tool to actually free up that stuck energy so that you can then express yourself more authentically in everyday life, which is so important, because it's also about being authentic to yourself and being honest with yourself and being like, actually, what do I want? And starting to ask yourself those questions as well, which has been a huge thing for me, and not believing that I deserve to have what I want. And yeah, a whole bunch of other stories that completely, when you think about it logically, it's crazy, but we all have something. So yeah, using our voice as a tool to help shift those and then also rewire the brain is just so underestimated. And we've seen so many transformations between us, because I started teaching in Mum Singing and Healing School, I think I was 15, and I started running the kids groups.
How old are you now, Maddy?
I'm 28 now. So yeah, over the years, we've both seen so many incredible transformations. And that, for me, that's not always the point. The point is for someone to feel inspired to use their voice every day, because we have access to it 24/7. So the fact that we can just tap into that resource of vibrational healing at any given time, that is our, very own, for lack of a better term, God-given tool. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to use and to enjoy.
What a very beautiful, first of all, union between mother and daughter, being able to share this gift together. I think that there's something really special about that. And it's a legacy being born in the present, which is really, really beautiful as well. I've got two different avenues I want to go down. So I'm going to go down with the first one. Julia, you had said the word true expression of yourself. How do you truly define what that true expression is, especially when we have trauma and all these other things that have hidden that ability for us to access that? How do we even start to get to that point of true expression? And what is it?
Great question. I believe for myself and many clients that I've worked with, we need to be listening to our bodies, because the body always is communicating with us. So it is really about being more embodied and using somatic practices, which is what we're doing with the voice. Because when you're not being authentic, your body will show you. You'll have some form of reaction. And even if you've numbed yourself down that well, which I did, I had completely flatlined my sensory system. But then I couldn't even feel the good stuff. I was never happy. I just thought, what was wrong with me? Your true voice, often when we go to speak our truth and we have a reaction in the body, because we have got this fear that, all right, if I really speak this, there's either going to be confrontation, I'll be rejected, this person won't love me anymore, it's not in alignment with their belief systems, I'm better off shutting up. But the problem with that is then we are in the past. And so we're not in the present moment. And this affects our intuition, because when you're in the present moment, you can totally rely on the signals that you are receiving through the vessel of the body. And this is key, because you start to develop, we've all got a signature tone that heals our body. And Christy and Aggie, your voices are the perfect tone for your body. And this is what everyone needs to understand. When you are being in a state of choosing to sort of give fear attention because we're reacting from a limiting belief or an unresolved wound that's still stored in the body, because you know when you've cleared it. And I can honestly say to you, my mum, God love her, she drank a lot. And it would trigger me so badly. I'd go into fits of rage. Like I just could not be around her when she was like that. And doing the past stage clearing and healing and using the voice work and stepping into speaking my truth, not being so scared of it, saying who I was and how I felt. And yes, I was emotional, and there was nothing, like it was accepting that as well. Like, yeah, I am emotional. This does affect me. This is how I feel. And not allowing that judgment in. That, what would happen was, well, what ended up happening was Mum actually stopped showing up with a bottle of scotch, and she was showing up and saying, oh, let's put the kettle on, which she didn't visit a lot. But when she did, there was always a bottle of scotch in her hand. Whereas in the end, she started just showing up and without it. And there was just this different energy between us, because big part of my healing this is important to share. Yes, our parents or people in our lives can really be expressing poor behavior that's not for anyone's highest good, but there's always a learning there. And our biggest learning, and this was for me and my mum, was to stop judging her, because she was in so much pain. So she was so disconnected. And because I knew what being disconnected felt like, when I had that realization, and it was during a past stage clearing and healing process where I saw my mum so disconnected, so unhappy, so joyless, and it cracked my compassionate heart open. I remember crying for ages, just feeling like, oh my God, I know what that feels like. And then it just shifted the judgment for me. And then it just shifted our whole relationship, because it is the judgment that we have upon someone that they are picking up on and then they're reacting to. Everything's a mirror. And so whatever I believe about something is how I'll be perceiving. I'm perceiving through those filters. So we're constantly having to clear these limiting beliefs and look at where we're reacting, because that's something unresolved within us. And so if you're really wanting to find your true voice, you've got to be fully in your body and prepared to feel it all. I am safe to feel my feelings, and that was something I worked on for years, to then trust the language of the body, because it's always giving us signals and giving you in. And if you can allow that to flow through you, what happens is the insights, the wisdom comes later. But if you don't allow it to flow through and you hold on to that stuck emotion, energy and motion, then that wisdom can't come through. So we need to be able to fully express what's happening for us in any given moment without judgment. And eventually you just stop reacting to stuff and life just starts becoming joyful.
And I guess to also just add in, when we judge others, the mirror, the reflection is that we are judging something within ourselves also. So in that example, like even for me with Granny, I would judge, if we're judging her for suppressing her emotions and how she's dealing with that, it's like, okay, well, what are we doing? Or what am I doing? You're asking yourself, what am I doing that where I'm suppressing my emotions? It might not be with alcohol, but I'm still doing it in another way. So it's taking that emotional responsibility as well in those situations. But that's kind of part of the journey into figuring out what your true expression is. Because how can you express yourself if you don't really know yourself? And so it's these kinds of insights and this awareness that we gain throughout our healing journey, which is constantly evolving. We learn ourselves better, and then in turn we can express that and also the things that stop and block us from expressing that true sense of self will come to the surface to be cleared, because the body doesn't want to hold on to it. It holds on to it as a safety mechanism from when we were children. So the very act of singing in itself, like literally just, you asked before, what's the first step? For someone just starting to sing, even if it feels scary, that is the perfect place to start. And if you already sing or you already do a choir, it's like, okay, well, what kind of music are you singing? And how can you do it in a way where you can get in touch with yourself on a deeper level and, yeah, really, really learn who you are underneath what you think your personality is or how you fit into society, without all that stuff, without all the layers, what's underneath that, and tapping into it and discovering it. So then in turn, you can express it when you feel ready.
Listening to the two of you talk, I can clearly feel the depth of that journey that you've both had, individually and also within the school. So talk to us about how the school has evolved over time. What was the vision initially, and how has it grown since you first started transforming people through singing?
The vision initially was I had 2 young children and I wanted to be home when they got home. I did corporate for 20 years. Then I was singing professionally for about 7 years, and that was not ideal because I was doing a lot of late night gigs. And so I decided to start the singing and healing school, and I was pretty scared at first. So I started with kids, then teenagers, and then adults. But it turns out adults were easier because they all wanted to be there. They were more scared than I was in the beginning. And the kids took a lot more energy. But that was the vision, was for me to start my own business where I could earn money and do something I love, because I did the corporate gig for so long and just did not love that. But I did get a lot of skills from it. And then it evolved. It was a running joke. Like, we used to say, oh, who knew so many people wanted to sing? And they just kept coming back. And I was like, all right, okay. And then, but my biggest issue was, because I was doing the healing work, I was really aware of how important what we speak to ourselves is. So the kids were coming in with really highly sexualized songs and content that was so inappropriate. So I thought, all right, I made a deal with all my students that we do what I want for 45 minutes and then you get to sing anything you want. And there was never judgment, or I never would say, oh, that song's a bit dodgy, or I never say anything. I go, yeah, okay, you want to sing that? Let's do that. And the back of my mind, like, don't judge, let it go. And then I was getting people come that had full-on issues around depression and trauma and, similar childhood, where there was this one woman who'd been singing with me for a year. She'd show up very quiet, she'd sing along, and then she'd leave straight away because it was all very social. And it was after a year she said to me that, I just want you to know that I'm waking up with your songs in my head, and I've been going to AA for more than 20 years and I don't feel like I need to go anymore. She said, I actually am going to go and be a sponsor and help people. So, and AA is Alcoholics Anonymous. So it's like she was getting such a profound effect of healing. And then I came across this book called The Brain That Changes Itself by Dr. Norman Doidge. And I had already met Bruce Lipton at the 2012 Uplift Festival, and I knew what we were doing was really quite profound to the body, but it was when I started learning about neuroplasticity. And then I realized, oh my God, that's why it works, because singing automatically triggers the production of these feel-good neurochemicals. It's oxytocin, dopamine, you've got the endorphins, serotonin. So that little mixture, like I said before, consolidates whatever you're learning about. So if you're singing, I am, Madeline's got this happy mantra, I am happy, I am fun, I am creative, I am strong. these lines start becoming consolidated. And then you start just singing that. And what's that doing epigenetically? That's having a positive effect on your gene expression. It's affecting you right down to your DNA. It's so simple. And I thought, oh, well, of course, God made us this. It's simple. Why do we make things so difficult? So the school ended up evolving as I evolved and was doing the healing on myself. And then I got that busy that I said, Madeline, you're ready. You can start teaching kids. And then I started training her and dealing with whatever she had come up. Because, you're holding space for people and there's a responsibility in that. And this goes for anyone holding space. It doesn't have to be singing. It can be anything. It's about knowing how to deal with people without pointing the finger, getting the energy to settle, people that are overbearing, knowing ways of settling them down without being really obvious. So there's lots of ways of doing that. And anyway, Madeline started teaching in the school and we became known in the area because I lived down where Madeline was in Byron, as Voice Jam, the singing and healing school. And we were just busy. I was flat out. And I knew within me I wanted to take this out to the world. And that was in 2015. And then I sold the house. We went to Europe. We had this big holiday thing, came back thinking, oh, yeah, I'm going to expand, sing Voice Jam because it's so successful. Nothing happened. I was in complete, stuck. And so I took myself on a 3-month isolation retreat with the guidance of my mentor, Maggie Landman, the original woman who I met back in 99, who I still work with to this day. And there was nothing external. So I was literally there. I had my food delivered every week and I was just doing vegetarian then. And it was all organic. I'd prepaid for that. He was delivering it to the front of the property. It was a big 20-acre property. 3 months without any external, anything coming in. No TV, no books, no music, no nothing. Just me and myself and nature and a lot of spiders. Oh, my God, so many spiders. Talk about wildlife. I was in the midst of it out there. And because I had some really deep-seated belief systems that were still running in my body around everyone. I believed everyone was inherently evil. When I touched on those words, I had the biggest hot flush and the biggest release. And then I had recall on other memories of things that had happened, not just to me, but to other people, and horrible stuff that, I don't need to even give energy to now, but it's like clearing that. The core belief was I am safe to put myself out there because it was all about me not feeling safe enough to really share who I was because of the fear of attack. So that became a whole thing. And then I had a download after I cleared all that and saw a vision of Sing to Thrive and what I would be doing. And that is teaching other people how to facilitate and run singing groups and how to use our Sing to Thrive method to heal themselves. Because it's simple. In a sense, it's really simple, but it's actually so vast in its capacity to heal the body, the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. We've got an online platform that we launched last July. So we've got all the in-person stuff that we do in Australia, and we're traveling to England and Scotland in September to sing the ley lines and the sacred sites, and we're going over to Norway to do a workshop there. We might come to Canada. Who knows? We're being led by spirit, really, and whatever evolves. But we've got an amazing platform.
And I think it's important to add in there too, because of all the music that these kids were bringing in, that was part of the inspiration for you, Mum, to start writing your own music. And so that over the course of however many years, 15 years, 20 years, of developing all of these songs that were perfect to use not only with kids but also the adults like them in group classes, where they were designed with all the positive and uplifting lyrics, but they were also designed like in particular scales with our call and response songs, where they would actually help you develop your pitch and your timing and whatever, depending on the song. And so it would help you become a better singer as well. And so there's this kind of double purpose interwoven with that. And then I think it was in 2019, we went into the studio and recorded all of them, like 35 songs or something.
With all the harmonies. There's hundreds now, but yeah.
All the different, harmony tracks. And the original idea was to use it as an educational tool for people to have positive music and learn to become a better singer. And right as we were launching that, COVID hit. And so everyone started streaming music. No one was buying music anymore. CDs were officially a thing of the past, unless you come to here in Byron, in which case you'll find a few. But yeah, it just the whole market and the whole world, essentially, in the way that we bought things and interacted with business completely changed, and it went very digital. And so we had to adjust our entire idea. And that's where the Sing to Thrive Healing Hub has evolved over the last couple of years, where we met this other team in Canada, Magic Media, and we use a platform called Mighty Networks, and it is brilliant. It is absolutely amazing. It's so user-friendly, and it's so easy to interact with our community. And it was so easy to customize for us because what we do is so different and it's so unique. And so we could customize this platform with all of our vocal activation tools, with all of our music, and we have lots of live classes and things that we do every week with our community as well. But yeah, it kind of has evolved from that point to now. This year, it finally feels so aligned because we are about to launch our first teacher training program. And that was the original vision, that from that 3-month isolation retreat, that was like, oh, okay, we can help people with singing and freeing their voice. But this is so powerful. We can't just be the only ones doing it. And so that was the whole idea, to help share not just our music, but the idea of how powerful it is to sing positive and uplifting lyrics and to use your voice and free your expression in that way as well. And so that was definitely a big part of the vision too. So yeah, it's exciting. It feels like this year we're really coming into alignment with what that original vision was.
Because I spent a lot of the last 5 years, I got right into the frequency of colour and sound. And I've made, they're called colour and sound healing activations. It's essentially chromotherapy and sound therapy and vocal toning. And we've got these, they're just amazing, where you're focusing on the colour and you're sounding a particular note. And that's actually working that frequency, because remember, every sound you make is creating a pattern in the quantum field. So when we're sounding, it's sacred geometry, essentially. So when you've got colour, sound, and then because there's a sound coming through your ears, and then your own voice, which is a very important factor. You have to play a role in your own healing here. You're not just putting something on and listening to it. This is really about you playing an important role in your healing. So there's 3 things. And what happens in the field is, what they've seen is these things stack on top of each other, these geometric patterns, and they create a frequency that is specific to a certain part of the body. So your kidneys or your liver or your, and all of these, of course, have an emotional thing to it as well. So I mean, where we store stuff metaphysically speaking. So they're amazing. And we've got people that are doing them daily and just having massive transformations. So you can just be coming on and doing, even if you feel like you're not a good singer, you can be doing the colour and sound healing activations. I've got journeys that were channeled. They were definitely amazing, basically working on the 5 core issues of humanity. But they've got all the songs woven through. So there's a journey to inspiration. There's a journey to self-love. So you're really working on specific things. And then within the hub, people can ask us something 24/7. Like there's this fantastic chat feature and you can have private chats or public chats. We do video conferences like Zoom things every week where we're teaching classes. I've got a voice yoga class this morning, Rewire the Brain sessions. They're so fun. They're so easy and so effective because the thing that I've noticed is I dream in color now and my imagination is very vivid because I'm using it. And this is part of our healing journey, to consciously use that. Because if you look at Greg Braden's work, he talks about creating the heart's template. And that requires you to get in alignment with your vision. Well, what's your vision? You've got to be able to see it in your mind's eye and feel it. And remember, you're actually activating the mirror neurons in the heart and in the brain and in the gut. When you can get a full body feeling of, yes, this is what I want in my life, this is what I want to manifest and create, then it's about singing the key words, because your higher self will send you the wisdom on these are the perfect words to undo the limiting beliefs that you've got going on, to then be singing that vision into reality. So you literally can sing your dreams into reality, and it's proven. So there's science to back this, and it's exciting because, Bruce Lipton, they love our music so much, they use it at their retreats. Like him and Margaret sang with me back in 2012 and just was like, loved. It was her favorite class at the whole festival. I'm like, yes. So that was beautiful, but it's so profoundly powerful, yet it's so easy and joyful. And that's our sort of catchphrase now. It's like a joyful path to healing, because believe you me, I know what a long and arduous journey feels like, because the first half of my healing was that. And then the second, it's like this speeds everything up. And you don't have to be a singer. It's not about that. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And I'm grateful. I never thought I would enjoy doing the online stuff so much. But it's fun, and I'm lucky I get a balance of both because I've got my live community that I work with as well. So
it's so fascinating. It's amazing. I'm like, a lot of stuff is coming up for me as you're talking about these different things. And I've known of Bruce Lipton and his work for years and years, and it's really cool to see how you can tie that into the voice and into that manifestation. It's really, really beautiful. What does the future look like for Sing to Thrive?
Well, it is actually the start of something, and it's been huge for us to get to this stage where we're at, and me personally, moving through my own belief systems and getting it to this, and trusting that we can really get this out there in a really in a way that has integrity. Like do this, staying in our hearts and not getting caught up in the rat race. And so we're hoping through that the future holds lots of conversations like this. You know, I just heard from Jonathan Goldman this morning, and he's coming on our podcast. And so it's about people talking and sharing and singing more, and then us being able to provide the tools. Because a key part of what we do is, so if I was to say to your audience something you can do immediately at home, whatever your issue is, get clear on what the issue is for starters. Get really honest with yourself, and then write a positive opposite to that. So if you're not feeling good enough, it's like, all right, you can write it down on a piece of paper. I am not good enough. And then take out the negative words. And it's like, I am enough. You even take out good. It's just like, I am enough and exactly who I am, no matter where I'm at. And so the future for me is just living and breathing this work, teaching people to sing, teaching them how profoundly powerful it is. And hopefully we get to travel and share this. I think that's my personal dream around bringing more joy and freedom, being someone that I contained myself and lived in a lot of fear. So now it's like, I'm really able to travel, take this around the world. And that's where I would love to be going with this, in a joyful, easy, graceful way. Yeah, that's not too crazy busy. But what about you, Maddy?
I would say the same. I think the purpose for me is to just continue sharing the gift of our own voices and, empowering people with the gift of theirs and how to use it and access it. And I definitely, for me, for the future, would love to expand that beyond my local community and get to experience the world and support other communities along the way, because there's so much healing and growth and learning for me as well, because every time you go somewhere new, you're learning more and more about yourself. So I feel like that definitely is in alignment with where I see the future of what we're doing.
And it is an important, I think, with everything that's going on in the world, we all know there's a lot of chaos out there and there's a lot of stuff being lit up. There's a lot more light coming in on the planet. And I'm talking in a real physical sense. I mean, so we're providing a tool to people that they can use 24/7. Like, we've got to stop looking externally for someone to tell us how to heal ourselves. We need to learn the skills and the tools ourselves. And the thing about singing is you can weave it with any modality. So just say someone's really taken responsibility and they're saying, right, I want to work with this particular person to heal this issue that I've got going on. That's awesome. They can also be adding singing to that. Singing can be added to anything. It's a form of breath work. It's somatic. There's so much that singing does. The thing is, you think of 100 years ago, what did we do? I mean, even when I was a little kid at my grandma's place, they had a pianola. We'd sing around the piano. 100 years ago, that's what people did. They sang. I remember going through school and it not being cool to sing. And it's almost like the fear of judgment was a part of that. But let's bring singing back into everyday life where people are just singing and then they're making themselves happy. They're reclaiming their own power to be in charge of their health and their joy. They can let go of pharmaceuticals. They can start, being really conscious about what they put in their body. Because not just food and water, the music you listen to, the people you hang out with, the words you're speaking, the words other people are speaking, being able to stand in your truth or remove yourself because that you don't want to be in that energy. Like, these are all self-loving acts. And singing really helps us become aware of ourselves and what we do and who we are. So I'd love to see just more people singing and using that to make themselves happy. And the thing about what we're doing with the teacher training is you can literally start your own business. That's part of it. We're helping people get a business started. So anyone, any mums or someone that wants a part-time thing, I mean, I made it permanent for me, but you can just do this on the side and you can be making decent money. So it's like, because people need help. They want healing and they come for this, and then you're empowering them. And that's what's so beautiful about the work that we're doing, because it is empowering.
Ladies, I could literally sit here and listen to you for hours. At some point in time, I caught myself like literally melting on my chair because I was so relaxed just listening to you. But I wanted to say thank you for sharing your story with us today and supporting my dream of singing my life into a musical, because that's always been something that I do with my daughter every day is sing something. I also grew up singing. So thank you for sharing your story, doing what you do, and helping people feel better.
You are so welcome. And we will have to share some of our music with you. How old's your daughter?
5.
Oh, perfect. Oh, we've got some great stuff for you.
Sounds great.
We just put 3 of our songs on Spotify. So under Sing to Thrive. And so they're there and they're lots of fun. It's all positive, life-affirming lyrics. One of them's a call and respond. So that'd be fun for you to do with your daughter. Or with anyone, Amazing. Actually, because they're for adults.
Well, enjoy Australia. Enjoy the rest of the summer.
Yes.
And most of all, stay badass.
Yeah.
Always.
Thank you for the work you're doing.
Thanks so much for having us on.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did recording it. If you like our show, please rate us, drop us a review on your favorite streaming app, and we'll catch you on the next episode. This was the Badass Women in Business podcast by Christy and Aggie.